a big part of the emotion behind all those projects that are around town is that, you know, my grandpa died when I was 10 years old, and I only have so many memories of him. And so when I see those projects around town, it's kind of like he can still be with me. There was a place called Diversive Care in Chanute, Kansas, and that's where he passed away. But in his final months, I remember I would go there with my mom in the evening, and we would, I think my grandma and my mom would, you know, go out, get some fresh air. But I remember being there in his room a lot, and he always had the Royals on TV. And I went there so often that I memorized the lineup. I remember learning everybody's names, and you know, I eventually got my favorite player. And that's actually when I got into baseball, was just watching it with my grandfather as he was slowly passing away. I think that's what has my emotional investment in baseball just in general is from those final moments with my grandfather. And I actually remember the night he passed away, the Royals were down by 3. And I remember driving home after he had passed, and we had all said our goodbyes. And I remember the Royals actually came back in the 9th inning and won it. And I just thought that was a good ending.
Dick loved baseball. He and many of his friends, they often played baseball. They had to climb over the wall, take lawnmowers over the wall and mow the grass, and so it was just, they wanted a place to play.
You always knew Family Day was going to be a work at the baseball field day. It was he would declare Family Day, and it was just pretty much every day you were at the ballparks.
He couldn't believe that there were people out there that did not understand the magnitude of what Walter Johnson and George Sweatt accomplished. And he was just a little bit, he just didn't understand why everybody else wasn't as excited as he was.
One thing about Dick is he had a passion, and when he decided he was going to do something, it got done. His motto was, it's better to beg for forgiveness than ask for permission. So, and that's the motto I like, and I run to this day with that.
Dick was just very unique. He was definitely one of a kind. And he's remembered.
This actually isn't a memory that I have, but so my grandpa came down with MS shortly before I was born, yeah? No, long time before I was born. Anyways, he was working on the Walter Johnson birth site rock, and I think there were trees that needed to be trimmed, and so while on chemotherapy, he went out there and got up in a tree and just started trimming them himself, fell out of it, broke his leg, crawled to the road. A school bus found him and took him to the hospital. And anyways, I was born at that hospital, and this is him and me, and here he is in his cast, and me as a baby. So I think I was, I don't know, I think I was just born around that Dick Davis mentality of I'll just do it myself. So I think that's kind of resonated into this project as well. Okay, so we were just driving around trying to find if there was a different access point to the sign because the highway is currently under construction and who knows when that's going to be done. So we just found an access road and it's fully paved, graveled. It's right next to an intersection. It's going to be perfect to get out here. So that's really good news for us. Yeah. and we were listening to the Eagles take it to the limit. So everything is going according to plan. Here's the sign as it currently stands. It was made out of wood originally, so the Kansas weather has really just taken a hit on it. It is in rough shape. We're gonna have to repaint. I mean, we're gonna have to do a lot, so it's a bit of an eyesore right now, but it's gonna look so much better when it's done.
She does have a little bit of her grandpa in her, and so she got the idea to get it going, and she knows she has a lot of connections for a young person, but she got it going, and I'm really proud of her.
I knew it was going to be difficult. I didn't know how difficult, and I didn't realize just how much money it was going to be. But when we got the bill for it, there was no stopping me at that point. Like, it was going to happen no matter what. So I had contacts at Thrive Island County who helped me write a grant for it. That was through the Department of Commerce, and they granted us the money we had left, as well as some community funds of just people in Humboldt and actually all over the United States that cared about the project that gave me money for it. So I think it was a joint effort by lots of people.
What I like is that we're using his original framework, all right? I mean, that's not changing, but we're going to add to it. I mean, I think you would be so thrilled to see that we're going to take this to the next step here. It's going to take some work, don't get me wrong, but it's something that I'm kind of thrilled to be a part of there, just knowing that I think Dick would really, really love to see this happening there, to see this continue on, because I know right now if he saw that sign, the condition it was in right now, he would not be happy about it there. So I'm glad that Allie took a part in this, and she's the one that got this going here. Nobody else told her to do this or came up with the idea. She did this all on her own.
So my grandparents, I didn't really know them that well because the majority of my life I've spent without them. They all passed away by the time I was I think by the time I was 12, they were all gone. And even then, I think 3 of them were gone by the time I was like 7. So I didn't really get to know them that well. And I know that baseball was kind of an important part of their lives in some way. And I kind of always wonder, what it would have been like to have them actually see the kind of work that I do, whether it would kind of pull on, some of their heartstrings. So they're kind of always in the back of my mind when I'm doing these paintings. So in kind of a way, by doing them, this also, kind of sounds maybe a little cliche or trite or whatever, but in a way, sometimes like that's kind of how I communicate with them. And the fact that, Allie is able to kind of do that, with her grandfather by trying to keep this stuff alive is, I totally identify with that.
Everything was Walter Johnson here as far as baseball goes. And I think Dad just decided that there was enough Walter Johnson, we needed to add on. And there was, we had another professional baseball player from Humboldt, and he needed some publicity.
I think what really is compelling about George Sweatt is the fact that I think he was really undervalued at his time for being not only just a great athlete, but a great person, a great father, an intellect, an academic, and I just don't think he was ever fairly represented in his life. And so what's really awesome is that we can at least give him that credit, in his death.
But to have someone of such high moral character, of such accomplishments, to have someone that the president of the university and the coach of all the athletic teams on campus stood up for him on numerous occasions and supported him when he was not going to be allowed to compete against schools that did have a segregation policy. I mean, to me, that speaks volumes about the young man. So, you know, without Dick, you know, great credit goes to him. I'm not sure that we would be aware of George's significance to Pittsburgh State University had it not been for Dick Davis giving me a call out of the blue one day and say, hey, I got a project, I got something I'm working on, can you help me?
You know, I don't know if anybody's told you this story, but when they built that ballpark up here, you know, he met with a lot of resistance. But also at the time, a guy by the name of Ewing Kaufman had just bought the Royals. And Dick was needing some help with getting some lights set up here at the ball diamond. They didn't have tall enough poles, and they wanted to get some lights up. Well, he wrote an in-depth letter to Ewing Kaufman asking for some kind of a help to assist in putting lights up here, you know, monetary-wise. Well, Ewing Kaufman went out of his way and not just only got the poles and the lights, but he had a crew come down here and put them up for him, all free of charge. And you can't, I mean, Dick would go out there out of his way just to try to find a resource to make it happen.
It doesn't happen without Dick Davis. If he's not there, it doesn't happen. It never would have happened, ever. Nobody else could have done it.
Even though he lived in Chanute, I think he always was a Humboldt kid at heart.
So I had always grown up just being, you know, in the Davis family, hearing all about Walter Johnson and George Sweatt, and also, you know, everything that my grandfather did. I had heard the stories, and I myself always have to have a project as well, and I think it just seemed obvious that I should be doing a project that also included my family's legacy. So I think I just felt really compelled by the memory of my grandfather to work on this project and make sure that the story doesn't die, and my grandpa's memory doesn't die with it either. I would like to add more things to Sweatt Park, make it a little more grand than what it is now. And although I don't know what it is yet, I want to do something with the Walter Johnson Field, because as it stands, nobody uses it anymore, because there's been a new complex that the Humboldt High School uses, and then the Recreation Department uses Sweatt Park, so nobody uses Walter Johnson Field. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I'm going to figure it out and do it.